and welcome back to another episode of her Gypsy Soul podcast, The Stories That Bind Us. My name is Jacqueline Van Bierk, and I am your host. I am a singer, songwriter, I'm an artist, and a composer, and I just love having conversations with people, especially about being creative, being a little gypsy, and traveling, being a minimalist, and of course, first and foremost, being your healthiest, best version you can be, because without your health, you are really nothing. So, with no further ado, I have a very special guest today that I'm so honored that he took the time to speak with me. His name is Michael David Huey. He is a health nutritionist and also longevity coach. He is just so fascinating, and he has so many amazing tips for you. I'm so excited to have this conversation with him about health, overcoming issues, and really taking charge of your body, of your health, and of your life again. So, with no further ado, here's Michael. Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm awesome today. It's always a good day. It's always a good
Right?
day.
Exactly. A day above ground is a good day, as they say, right?
2 feet above ground, and God's got plans and purposes for me today. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. I got so intrigued. I found out about you and I saw you. I listened to you on Clubhouse. You're a nutritionist, a longevity coach, and the founder CEO of Hefluence. I want to hear more about that. And I can't even say it. Epigenetic
Epigenetics.
epigenetics researcher. I want to hear way more about all of this because we are in a time where I think that it's time for people to take their power back and heal themselves and not rely so much on big pharma. And I know you guys having probably like a bit of a hard time because you're being silenced a lot. A lot of people are being silenced, because it doesn't fit the agenda.
No, it doesn't fit the drug company's agendas for sure.
Exactly. So why don't you just introduce yourself to us, to those who don't know about you yet, where you got started, how you got started, and what really got you motivated to be in this field?
That's a good question. So I am originally from Ohio. Originally, went to college. I grew up in an alcoholic father's home, believe it or not, Jacqueline. And I was told, I would never forget like this. I remember I was told I'd never graduate from high school or go to college. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like, who are you to tell me the plans and purposes that God has for me? You're just a man. You're not God. You can't tell me. And I was like, well, I'm just going to prove these people wrong, right? Like I'm going to prove them wrong. And I did. And I had some health issues because I lived in a trauma home. I lived with an alcoholic father. We did a room on Clubhouse the other night with my friend Dr. Anise Khalif and myself, and it was on trauma. It was only supposed to be for 90 minutes, and it went on for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
And people were just coming in, Jacqueline, and being encouraged and set free, and the freedom that was in there. It was really amazing, and it made me think back to my childhood when, you know, I was an overcomer, right? Like I was that person that said, "Nah," and I'm still like I feel like a kid again. Like I told you, I'll be 53 soon, but nobody can look at this handsome face of mine and tell me that I'm 53 years old, right?
No.
Plus, I have the body to go with it, right? I mean, I can go to the beach and everybody turns their head and they'll say, well, man, how old are you? 40? And I'll say, no, or they'll say, how old are you? 38. I'll be like, no, keep going. And then they'll think the opposite direction. I'm thinking, no, go higher, And so for me, I have a mindset that allows me to see myself the way God sees me, not the way man sees me or opinions or deviations of how people see it. And I just fought through. And even now, like my dad and I are really good friends now. And my family's listening to me when it comes to their health. And I got nominated for a PhD last year in nutrition. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but you know what I really thought about that, Jacqueline? They wanted me to come back to school, and then I said, no, it's just I don't need my name to be Dr. Mike. I really don't, to be honest with
Right.
you. Um, Michael is fine, and the reason that is because um, whether that happens or not, I've been chosen to make a massive impact in this world, and I'm the only one that can hold me back from doing that, right? Like I'm not attached to people that don't like me anymore. I'm not attached to people's feelings. Like, um, y- like even just like you and I, we tried to do this the other day. And I just believe that God's timing was perfect in this. Like I believe that you're going to ask me the right questions at the right time to get the right answers. Right. And this is sometimes we get people that listen, and whether 100 people listen or 1,000 or whatever, really this is about you and I. This is about you and I building a relationship and encouraging one another and getting to know one another. Cause I go back, like I did 2 podcast interviews today on my own podcast. Right. And I was like, wow. I was like, wow, I love this person even more than I did before. Right. Like I knew them. And to be honest with you, I just finished my 75th podcast interview.
Wow.
um,
Congratulations.
yeah, and I've only had one bad podcast interview. That was it. One. And I was one that I kind of was like, "Oh God, do I interview this person or not?" And they're pushing me to do it, and I was like, "I shouldn't have did it." But
Yeah,
it's a
you do.
process, and so that's who I am today. Today, I'm a man of integrity and humility. I just got off a call right before I was on with you, and my friend Megan DiMartino spoke life into me. She said you have a massive calling on your life, but here's some things that you can probably work on. And I got out my pencil and paper and I wrote them down because I believe that God positions people in our life to make us better
Absolutely.
when we open our ears to being, we can't, not everybody's going to like us. We can't be around everybody. Like not everybody's going to like your beautiful pink hair, right?
Yeah.
I do. I like it, right? It matches your dress, it matches your lips, but not everybody's going to like that, right?
Yeah.
But the people that know you and love you for who you are going to gravitate towards you and going to hear your message, and you're going to surround yourself around the right type of people. So that's who I am. I'm a person of influence that wants to be humble and moldable and teachable. My core values are honesty, integrity, humility, and love. But love is the greatest of all. I just want to love people. I want to live with passion, and I want to teach other people to do the same thing. So that's who I am.
It's so powerful. And I love when you were saying that, not everybody's going to love you, not everybody's going to be ready to listen, because that's a lot of times how it goes with health issues, right? People are easily vocal about complaining about all the issues they have, but they're not willing to do the work. They run to the doctor, get the subscriptions and prescriptions, not subscriptions. Same thing.
Well, there really are subscriptions too. They're really subscriptions too, because most people never get off of them.
Exactly,
They're prescriptions and subscriptions. A
exactly.
death subscription.
Exactly. Thank you. And they never even for once think that, hey, maybe I can do something myself, with the way I think or the way I move or the way I eat. And it's people go on diets and all that kind of stuff. And it's like it's a lifestyle. So what would you tell someone, because you have seen people heal, you heal people, you
Yeah.
change people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Somebody with diabetes walks into you and thinks that for the rest of their life they have to take these drugs, they have to deal with it, and they're just doomed, right? But then now
Yeah.
you come in, what would you tell them?
Now that and it's funny you say this because when you were it's just funny how you use that word subscription, right? Like you're like prescriptions, subscriptions, but that's what they are. They're
Yeah.
really and even as people look at you, like I do a lot of different stuff nowadays. Like I do DNA testing. A lot of people, I find out what's actually fit. And if you ever go to my Instagram, you can look. I have a little link tree thing on my Instagram where people can actually look at what I do and see who I am on my I have one my wife made. It just says who I am, right? And it allows me to teach people because not let's be realistic, none of us are promised tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
Like tomorrow may never come, right? Like, and for us to be able to have an impact in this world, that means that everybody's different. Everybody's microbiome is different. I usually, to be honest with you, Jacqueline, I usually start people off with I do a DNA test on them, but I teach them a couple things right off the bat. I teach them about hydration, which I think 90% of people around the world are dehydrated, and the water that they drink is not very good,
Mhm.
right? Not only do they not drink enough, and then I teach them about sleep because 90% of Americans, listen to this, 71 million Americans have sleeping disorders. Now think about that,
That's crazy.
right? Where they just don't get any sleep, right? They don't sleep. It's crazy, right? Like they just don't get any sleep. And I think that's super important. And then I teach them about gut health because I believe that those are the three pillars of, and obviously there's exercise and other things, but getting them and supplements and teaching people how to activate their body rather than supplement their body. I used to take 50, 60 supplements a day. And now I take enough supplements that fits in a little Dixie cup, which is, I don't have to have all my organizers to take all my pills that I used to take. I used to
Yeah.
have two a day. I don't do that anymore. And I'm way more healthier. Right. So for me, I meet the person. Like I meet the Jacqueline, I meet the Michael. I don't meet, clump everybody in together. And nothing against them. I have friends that do this that are nutritionists and they just say, "Oh, you can drink on the weekends and eat whatever you want, and it's not about that. And look at all my people that are losing weight doing this." But what they don't show you is what happens to that person 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line when their liver enzymes are screwed up and they get to 40 or 50 and they're gaining weight and they don't know why. But it's because of what they ate and what they drank when they were younger.
Mm.
And I think that that's what's killing people. We live in a world of prescriptions and subscriptions, right? And that's what's important. Like it's it's taking care of what's important for that person, right? And I'll share this, and then you can ask me another question. Is I just had a client that came to me, struggled all of her life with her weight. She's 56, been over 300 pounds most of her life. She had a stomach surgery where they literally take off a third of your stomach, right?
Right.
And then you only have two-thirds of it left, right? And then they tell you, hey, you need to eat like 800 to 900 calories the rest of your life. And she's like, this sucks,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
she didn't know anything about Garelin or leptin. And then she realized all the stuff she'd been struggling, she wouldn't have had to have that surgery. So after, usually when you cut that your stomach in half, you lose a lot of weight up front, and then the weight loss stopped. And she's like, Michael, what do I do? Like I spent all this money, I had this surgery, I've only lost like 20 pounds in 6 months. What do I do? I said, you double the amount of calories you're eating. And she's like, what? I can't do that. They told me not to. I said, drink part of them, have a green smoothie in the morning with some things, some plant based stuff. And then I walked her through that. And literally, remember, 20 pounds for 6 months. She lost about 20 pounds. That was it after the surgery. So in January, I started her on, you know, almost 1,800 to 2,000 calories. She was doing 800 to 900. So double, a little bit more than double. And she just finished in June her 6 month thing. And she sent me a picture. She's lost 65 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. By doubling what she was eating. Right. And most people, they don't get that. You know, friends of mine and clients of mine all the time, I use a BMR calculator to determine how many calories they should eat. And most people, 90% of them are under eating. They don't understand that they're trying to drive their they're trying to drive their car from here to where I live to Tampa with a quarter tank of gas, and it takes a half a tank to get there.
Right.
So I'm running out of gas and then just making it on my fumes, right? And that's what people do. So I think it's super important that we teach people the basics, the sleep, the hydration, and teach them how to have a functioning gut, because our gut's our second brain and everybody's is different. So that's what I would say, that I start people out on the basics, and then we dive into a little bit more of the deep stuff, because you don't want to overwhelm people. You want them to kind of learn through the process.
Absolutely. Because it could be a little bit disencouraging too when you have never done anything like that and suddenly you have all these change because we are people like creatures of habit, right? People,
100%.
I think they really, and maybe that's why it's so hard for some people to even grasp the idea of self-healing, or how nutrition, herbs can heal you better, more efficient than medication, because herbs are medication too, from the shamans, right? They've done this for centuries. um but it's the habits I think people need to change, and we are creatures of habit. So maybe one little thing, changing one little thing, maybe like sleep an hour more, or go to bed a little bit earlier. Those are all kind of things, wouldn't you say, that could help um, you make the changes instead of being so overwhelmed? And I agree with you, by the way, with nutrition, with supplements, because I've been taking quite a few, and I find it, I question it now, because I'm like, wow, I think maybe it's just too many things. Because
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. You know, I'll have to dive into that outside
you
of that because
know,
I've watched some of your Instagram stuff, and I see that you're very flamboyant and you're smart, like you're intelligent.
yeah,
And I see that you and your dog, you guys travel together and do a lot of things together, and I love that. I love that. And
yeah,
so, and we also have to take care of our pets too, right? Like
me too.
yeah, yeah. And so, and I've found kind of, so I'm deep into the equine and the pet side of health too. So that's kind of a big passion for me. And so, yeah, so I'm huge into teaching people about biohacking, and I have a infrared sauna in my house, and I have a massage chair, and I have foam rollers, and I have foot massagers, and I do all that stuff. Like I love that stuff. I have a massage gun. So yeah, I just got an acupuncture treatment yesterday, and I'm into cryotherapy, and yeah, I'm into all that stuff. I would rather, Jacqueline, I would rather, you know, um, men get into some crazy things, right? Like, even married guys. Like I counsel guys all the time, and I dig into the personal aspect of their life. Like, what are you doing? Are you intimate with your wife? Are you doing that? What are you doing? Right? Because that leads to decisions you make. That leads to decision that you're eating unhealthy, or you're drinking unhealthy, or you're smoking, or whatever, or you're vaping, right? Like the craziest things people do nowadays.
Yes,
It starts with who they surround themselves with. It surrounds them. If they surround themselves with people that are pushing them towards their goals, great. If they don't, then we got to figure that out. I think that's super important.
absolutely. How do you deal with? Because I find myself. So I want to talk about the vaccine. I hope you don't mind
No,
talking
no,
about
no, let's go. You can talk about the vaccine
because
if you
I
want.
am totally against it.
Me too.
I feel it's absolutely bogus and it's all just agenda driven propaganda, and I was just listening to some doctor this morning, and I get so upset because a lot of my friends have taken it, and
Of
it makes
course.
I had to like calm myself down again because I get so mad that people buying this, and think that we are just conspiracy theorists. We are crazy,
Oh, my mom and dad and stepmom and stepdad did it. So yeah.
and I'm like, don't you see people are being silenced to speak? Why can't we have a healthy debate about doctors who are not agreeing with it and doctors who think that it's
Yeah,
okay?
like Simone Gold and all of them that don't agree with all that stuff, right?
Right.
Like,
But why
and
are they being silenced versus just having a healthy debate?
well, when you look at it, you said it back in the beginning. It's the drug companies control almost everything, right? And I don't like. I'm really careful when I talk about. I don't really care to talk. I mean, I care to talk about it, but I don't really care what people think, right? Like I do, but I don't, right?
Right. Of course.
Like I have friends of mine that get murdered every single year because and the drug companies do it, and I don't care if they listen and I'm protected by God. They're not going to get to me because God's got my back, right? And for me, what I know is like in my pecking order of my life, like um it's God is first and then everything else after that. Like my wife could be gone tomorrow, or whatever that means, but my focus is on what's important, and my voice shouldn't be silenced, and
Exactly.
nobody's voice should be silenced, right? Like I burnt my lip the other day, and it still kind of it bothers me a little bit, but it's just funny. But on food, believe it or not, and I blew on it, but it was just too hot. But so for me, I think it's super important that my mom and stepdad and all my family got the vaccine, and they had already had COVID, so they didn't need to take the vaccine, right? And so at first I was like, I can't believe you guys did, and then at second I just said, look, I can help them overcome the side effects of this thing by teaching them proper things. And it's just like I got my dad. You brought up herbs, so I'll share this. One herb product that I think is the greatest. I think every breathing person should take this product. And it's not because I promote it. I do promote it, but it's because I believe in it, and I believe that every human should take it. It's called Nerve 2, NRF2, and it's an activator, and it actually takes 5 herbs, and the 5 of them are non-therapeutic by themselves, but in this synergistic formula,
Hmm.
they work endogenous inside your body, and they turn back on what's already there rather than supplementing and exiting the body, right? And the research is all there, and I believe that because I've allowed my dad got off of 17 of 19 meds with that one product. Okay. with no dietary changes. Okay, no dietary. And look, we all know there's no magical pill. I think it is, but I'm just being real with people, right? And then he's like, well, I don't know how much longer I want to live, and I don't know if I want to eat healthy. And I was like, well, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to meet you where you are. I got you off 17 meds. You had skin cancer and heart disease. You don't have that anymore, but your doctor told you you need to lose 60 pounds, right? And so I was like, well, why don't we do something to lead by example for him? So we did 75 hard, right? And I did it for 90 days. My wife did it for 75 days this year. And while I was traveling, my wife was doing, if you know much about 75 hard, you have to do one workout inside, one workout outside for 45 minutes every day for 75 days. You have to drink 1 gallon of water. You can't have any sugar or any alcohol. You have to follow a diet and you have to read 10 pages of a book every single day for 75 days.
Oh, wow.
And 95% of the people that do it start over. Okay. Because if you miss any of those things and don't check it off, you have to start back over at the beginning. Right. So my wife pushed all the way. I did it with her for 60 days, but then I got caught in my travel. I didn't cheat eating wise. I fell asleep with my tennis shoes on and I woke up at like 12:05. And so I was already into the next day. So I couldn't do my
Oh,
workout. But because I'm a man of integrity, I said, hey, look, I failed. My wife's like, no, go do your exercise right now. And I'm like, nope. I was after midnight. I failed. So, but she kept going. And when I came home from traveling, she had finished. And I went to my dad's and I hadn't seen my dad in 3 weeks. And he looked different. And I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, I lost 15 pounds. And I was like, what the heck happened? He's like, you and your wife. He goes, I watched your wife lose 20 pounds. She only wanted to lose 15. She lost 20 pounds and she got ripped. Right. And he's like, I have a moral responsibility to take better care of myself. So he's like, we got rid of sugar and all this stuff. And he said, and I thought, man, my wife was around them for 3 weeks on Sundays because she still went over there. My parents, but she still went over there. And she led by example. So my thing that I would say, Jacqueline, before we go on, is that people are watching you. Like people are watching you. And, whatever your lifestyle is, I'm not here to judge you. Um, I have fun. I like to play golf. I'm a scratch golfer. I love golf. Everybody says, well, how do you hit that white ball? And isn't it boring? And yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, it's really not, and then, you got the girls who are like, no, we can dress up in these really fancy, stuff. But I don't judge people. Like I just find out like, what can I do to better people's life without judging them? And how can I reach the people that I want to reach the most? And what does that take me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like when I lost a lot of money because I through a codependent relationship, I brought a guy into my business that stole basically all our retirement and all our money. Right. And I went back. Yeah. 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 And I said, okay, God, what are you trying to show me? And he's like, I just want you to rely on me in every area of your life. And so I just jumped back on the horse. I didn't just jump back on. I learned why I fell off. And then I got back up in this book, John Maxwell's book, Developing the Leader Within You. I read his first version 25 years ago. And then I read the second one. And he said, too many people, when they fall down, Jacqueline, they just get back up and then you say, keep going, right? No, figure why you fell down first and then get back up and get back on. And I think that's what's most important is that you surround yourself with the right people. You don't make decisions based on fear, which is what that whole vaccine, all that stuff is based on. Tony Robbins, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Here's what Tony Robbins said in a very smart clip. He said, how come there's no more flu?
Yep.
He said, how come there's no more cancer? No one's dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how come those things dropped like 60 to 80% or 60 to 70%
Yeah.
in the last 2 years and COVID skyrocketed?
Yeah.
And if you've lost a loved one and you're listening, don't be mad at me. I'm just sharing my heart with you because my wife does COVID testing. And I think COVID brought out a lot of inside issues. We live in a pandemic, and this is the last thing I'll say. We live in a pandemic of obesity, opioids, and prescription drug addictions, and all of that stuff. So for me, when I do DNA testing, it comes back and tell me whether somebody's been vaccinated. And when they have, most of them have deeper underlying issues because they've suppressed their immune system by taking a vaccination. So yeah, it's okay for you to ask about it. It's good.
It's
So
yeah, it's I mean,
you seem very passionate about it. So
it
it's good.
baffles me, yeah, and I know that I piss a lot of people off when I talk about it, and I talk and they want to really argue with me, and they just make fun of,
Jacqueline, where
oh
are you
yeah,
from originally?
I'm from Germany originally.
From Germany?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
and
How
they're
long have you been here in the States?
over 20 years.
Okay, good for you. I
Yeah,
love that.
I love it here, and
Do you
that's,
miss Germany?
I do. I went back last year. I actually went back last year to heal my mom who had cancer. And looking back, for example, with everything I've been learning this past year, I really wonder if she would have been fine without all the treatments, without having that big surgery that she had, because uh, doctors are so easily, make you tell you you have 3 months to live, whatever, like it needs to be removed, it needs to be cut out, and then you have to go through chemo and all that kind of stuff. And it just,
Yeah.
I understand, because when you are in the office and somebody tells you that, you just want to heal and you want to be better. But God, there's so much damage involved in
Yeah,
doing
I
these
agree.
treatments. So yeah, when I talk about the vaccines, thankfully my mom is we're on the same page with that,
Good.
with the vaccines. But ooh, it makes me so angry because
I get it.
people,
I get it. It's hard and it's
it,
hard. And
it's
it's
really
something that
hard.
you have to kind of, I mean, let me just encourage you and then we can go on to another
Yeah,
topic. But here, let me just encourage you this. You have to shelf it. Okay. Because once you allow, it's like
it's hurting me
life. Yeah. Yeah. Cause life is about growing and learning. Like I just told you, I went through this massive learning experience with my last call with my friend. And I learned areas in my life that I need to fix because I hate when people manipulate, the Bible, and I hate when people do this, and it bothers me, right?
yeah,
But I also know that I have skeletons in my own closet, and I can't judge, right? I got to just say, okay, mom and dad, yay, I'm glad you had the vaccine, but I'm really not. But I still love you,
yeah,
right? Let
yeah,
me just help you now going forward, do the best that you can do, and then I wash my hands. So
yeah,
it's all
yeah.
good.
And also, I grew up in East Germany, so I grew up in communism, so I
Oh,
know
yes, you
what
did.
it's like, so it makes me really, I always tell people, listen to people like me who have lived in this climate, and that's the same kind of, there's a lot of things that are happening that are just totally uh, the same thing, silencing people, being a bad
Yeah.
person if you don't think that the same way they think. It's
Of
just,
course.
you
Of
know,
course. And you've been here. How long have you been a single woman?
how long I've been a single woman? For about 3 4 years now.
Okay. Were you married before or no?
I was married once, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And always been in long-term relationships, and I'm still friends with all my exes, which is great. I feel when it's not right, you have to move on and let that person go so they can find their happiness and you can find your happiness.
Good. The reason I asked you that is because that's the generalization of everything that you just talked about.
Yeah,
And anytime that you have those situations or whatever, you just have to love people where they are. And there's the it's the old Frozen movie, the movie Frozen, right?
yeah.
Let them go, right? Let them
That
go,
is,
right?
I
And
yeah,
I always hear that music because my wife loves that music, and you just let them go,
yeah,
right? And then you just focus on the positive and focus on things that move you towards your purpose.
yeah. And it's sometimes, yeah,
It's hard.
I
It's
love what you
hard.
said, because that's what I was thinking this morning. I'm like, you know what? There's nothing you can do. You can't control people. You can put only positive stuff out there and encourage. Because also, I don't want to tell people who have had it all the things that I've heard, because then they're gonna get more scared, right? Because now
Of
it's
course.
too late already.
Of course.
I want to ask you, but so first of all, I loved what you were saying about getting people off, getting your dad off all these medications, because my mom's partner is on so much medication. He's overweight. Has a pacemaker. He's only 60 years old. It's crazy, and he has diabetes. And so listening to you, because I've been telling him that, I'm like, there's a way for you to get off this stuff, because one thing hurts another thing, like your liver and all that kind of stuff, right? It's a chain reaction. But what I love, I see the book behind you about fasting. Tell me a bit more about fasting, because we hear about so many things, but I'm sure you have some great insights on what's the best way to
Well,
fast.
I love it. I love it because what I like best about podcasts, Jacqueline, is that you get to know the other person, like just your smile and I like when I see you now, like I don't see your Instagram person. Like I see you differently. I was
Right.
like, well, Jacqueline's into some, into this and she's into that. And then I look at her and she's like this innocent, you know, person, right? Like I'm like, she's really out there and in people's face. And then I see her on here and I'm like, oh, she's just an angel, right? Like she's just a calm person. But yeah, I mean, and this is a New York Times bestselling by Fasting by Jensen Franklin. And it's funny. Um, Most people think about it from a health perspective, okay? But you also have to look at it from both perspectives, right? Like God says not if you fast, he says when you fast, right? And Jensen says open the door to deeper, more intimate, and more powerful relationship with God. And then he goes into talking about it from a healing perspective. Um, I do intermittent fasting on a regular basis, my wife and I. Some people it's not good for. You have to kind of figure out what your hormones are like, and if things are
Oh,
bothering you from that, then you do it. But you know, um, I think it's super. I think it helps you stay healthy. I think there's a lot of detoxification that goes on. You have a healthier gut. You have a healthier brain. There's a lot of things that goes on from fasting, and one of the huge things that I really like is teaching people the importance of what it does for your gut and your gut brain barrier and allowing your body to begin to heal itself. Fasting, you know, is, as I said, huge from a spiritual standpoint, but it's massive from a healing standpoint, right? Just eliminates toxins, allows you to have an acknowledgement of your body. Because, I mean, I laugh when I say this because I've taught this a couple of weeks ago at a conference. Um, even Adam and Eve in the garden, Jacqueline, like they had all these fruits and vegetables, right? And all this, and God was teaching them to fast, and then he taught them how to grow. And he said, don't eat from this one tree, right? Like you can have whatever else you want, but this real pretty tree right here, you don't want to eat from, right? And what did they do? They ate from it, right? Like, really? Like, you had all this other stuff, but you couldn't eat. And then they brought sin right into the world, right? Like, we all sin and fall short. But the most important thing is that food is either nourishment and healing or it's a stumbling block and causes disease and cancer and diabetes, heart disease, all this stuff. And it all starts with the physical. You can be you can have 2 million followers on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all this stuff. But if on the inside your physical body is dying, you're left with nothing. Brian Benstock said it on Glenn Lundy's show today. He's like, my daughter wants to meet all these high level influencers, but yet they're drinking soda and their sponsors are Monster and Rockstar and all these other stuff, right? And he's like, no, you don't really want to follow them. Follow this person, right? That's eating a healthy diet and sharing with, and I think we take that for granted. And it's really funny. I work with a lot of influencers, Jacqueline, and they would rather spend their money on things that bring no substance to them long term than spend it on their health, right? And it's like I would I would rather sell my golf clubs, which I'm not doing, by the way. I would rather sell my golf clubs and sell everything I have if I could just serve my family and serve my community. So fasting is super important. I've taught my family that. I think my mom's traumatic brain injury has gotten better. I'm going to dive in with her a little bit more. Her fatty liver disease is starting to get better. I'm going to dig into her a little bit more about fasting this week. I'm going to talk to her this weekend. But yeah, using these systems in our body to trigger things that can heal the body. And I believe that fasting is a big part of that. And I think if you're not fasting, if you go to my YouTube channel, I just posted a really cool video on fasting on there. And if you DM me on Instagram, I have a PDF that goes into all the different types of fasting.
Oh,
I'll
great.
give that to anybody who wants to listen and who wants to go there. You just go to my Instagram and there's a little cheat sheet on there and it talks about fasting. And so, yeah, I love fasting. Fasting it's important. It's a way of life. You should do it.
Yeah.
Super important.
I
Glad
used to
you
talk
asked.
about that, and I tried to do the not eating before 1 p.m. sometimes,
12 or 1, yeah.
yeah, 12 or 1.
But
Um,
you're really skinny.
yeah, well, I do a lot of yoga, and I'm very active with my dog. We go for walks all the time. I'm
Yeah.
always like doing stuff, and I'm trying to get better at my sleeping patterns because I go to bed usually at 2, but then where I was staying, there were like some spiders, and so it takes me a while to like calm my mind, thinking nobody's gonna come and get you tonight.
Well, you're so I'll just tell you this, your best sleep time. So I'm going to pour back into you. Your best sleep time is between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. Okay? So I'm just letting you know that. So your best sleep is 10 and 2 in the morning, even if it's 11 and 3. That's it's teetering, but not 2 and 6. Okay, just letting you know that. So even though you
So
still have great skin and young, and you don't have a lot of issues with bags under your eyes or stuff yet, but as you get older, you can get that. I don't have them because I take care of my skin. I take care of everything on the inside. I really don't. I barely even have any lines on my forehead because I'm a self-care advocate. I love self-care. If you've seen my bathroom in here, you'd be like, wow, you look like a girl, Michael. And I'd be like, nah, I'm not a girl, but I love self-care. So
yeah, it's important because it's so easy to go and get your Botox, get your fillers, right? All that kind of stuff. I mean, we all want to stay young, but if there's something you can do that's actually, first of all, I believe that when I touch myself, my body loves that because I'm, like you said, self care, right? If I feel like a little bump here or something, I'll massage it. I'm like, okay, you need some attention. But again, I think people are
body self-care. I love that.
they're so outside of, a lot of people are very outside of themselves. I have a friend who she had all these issues all the time, and she would always say, my body hates me, my body hates me. And I was like, your body does not hate you. It's
It
your
doesn't.
it's your mind. Your body wants you to be well.
It's your mind, your will, and your emotions.
And speaking of mind, you're also a mind coach. Like
Yep.
you coach people about mindset, because mindset is huge. What we tell
Yeah.
ourselves, but if you go out and always say, I'm old, I'm getting old, that's why, my back hurts,
Yeah.
or my
Yeah.
knees are weak, or whatever. And
Life and death is in your tongue.
I,
Yeah. Whoever said that we were supposed to tell ourselves that what we have is a death sentence, right? Like, oh, but my mom and dad had this, and
right,
my grandmother had this, and so I'm going to have this, right? Like, oh, I'm always going to be fat. No, you're not. And it starts with, I on that on my Instagram thing, on my quick links, I put in there a morning routine. And I think it's super important that when you do a morning routine, and what happens when you do a morning routine is that the most important thing about a morning routine is that it sets your mindset on, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to allow myself to look at where I'm at and how I start my day. And if I'm capable of doing that, if I'm capable of starting my day different, like if you look at my little morning routine thing, it's like never, so that it has these 6 things. Number one, never hit your snooze button. So if you're
guilty of
looking,
that,
what's that?
guilty of that.
Are you? Okay, you're guilty of that. All right. All right. No condemnation. So it says
Gotta work on it.
never hit the snooze button. Number 2, drink at least 16 ounces of water right when you woke up with lemon in it. So I take a
I do
big
that.
cup and put a lemon in it, and I put it right beside my bed, and right before I get up I drink it. And then then I make sure it's alkaline water because I like the alkaline. But if you can't have alkaline water, the lemon will, you can use lemon oil drops. Those help a lot. I use celery seed extract also in there. Okay. And then third thing is make your bed. Like, make your bed and brush your teeth.
Yes.
Right. Hopefully, if you have good bowels, you'll go to the bathroom too. Right. Like, you should be going to the bathroom every morning when you wake up. Right. That's a must. That means something's wrong if you're not. Okay. And then next, number 4 is avoid your computer or your phone for at least an hour when you wake up. Don't go right to your phone, right to your computer, right to that. Avoid that. And then you're guilty of that. And then pray. I do prayer and meditation and reading. And I do a gratitude journal of things that I'm grateful for, and that's mindset. And then the last thing is I exercise. Okay, I try to exercise in the morning and not within, if I have to in the afternoon, like when we did 75 hard, not within 3 to 4 hours of when you go to bed, because your body's really up and moving. You definitely shouldn't do like an hour or two before you go to bed. If you stretch it to beyond 2 hours before you go to bed, that's better because your body calms down. I do an infrared sauna at nighttime and then a hot bath. One thing that I do before I go to bed is a hot bath, but that morning routine is super, super important. I think once you set up a morning routine, that's the summation of your mindset, because you start off the how you start your day is how you'll finish your day.
Right.
It's a
Oh,
fact.
so powerful. That's a gold right there. That's very
100%.
powerful. Yeah. I work on that. I slip once in a while and then I get mad at myself for slipping and I'm like, hey, the Wim Hof, I do Wim Hof breathing.
Me
So
too.
I like doing that in the morning usually,
Yeah.
because that I feel like it really gets
No,
me.
it's Wim Hof breathing. Is My wife doesn't like him. I do. I think he's funny. One of my friends did a Wim Hof retreat in San Diego, in a park in San Diego, right?
Oh, nice.
And he
Yes.
did the cold baths. He brought these cold baths in and everything, right? And they all did that, and that was kind of cool. I'm going to build a cold bath in the next couple months here at my house. But my friend Gary Andrus just climbed Mount Elbert, which is 14,000 feet above sea level. And he did Wim Hof breathing the whole entire 3 hour trip up,
Whoa. Oh my
the
God.
whole entire time for 3 hours. Just
That,
imagine,
that is
right?
great.
And you know what was great about it? He had no soreness or no fatigue the next day.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
Oxygen in, garbage out. Oxygen in, garbage out. Right?
Right. Oh my
Oxygen
God.
to your cells. So yeah. So yep.
Powerful. So powerful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I could talk to you for hours because I wanted to get,
We'll have to talk more, you and I.
yeah, like about
I
biohacking. I love all these terms that I'm like, tell me more about it because
Well,
it's
we'll have to do that. You and I will have to do that.
yeah.
I would love to do that.
Where can people find you? And if they want to work with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Tell us about that. And
So the best thing to do is just go to Instagram.
mhm.
Um, you can go to LinkedIn. You can go to Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but my VA does all my Facebook stuff, and I do some. I've had some better traction lately. I got kind of mad at Facebook during the election, but that's another topic for another day. But yeah, there's a quick links on my. It's through my friend Adam Zucko's platform called Wavoto. You just click on the link, and it has a video on there that tells you what we do and the testing that we do. You can purchase the tests on there. There's also a schedule link on there that you can schedule a time to meet with. If you're really serious, you'll hit the 40-minute link, and then it'll just be me. And then if you hit the 30 minutes, sometimes it'll be me or my team, depending on who takes that day, because I only do about 20 appointments a week. So yeah, no, that's the best way. Just go to Instagram under Michael David Huey and or Hefluence, either one, and click that link and schedule a time.
Yeah. And I guess Clubhouse because you're on Clubhouse
Oh yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah.
And honestly, I love it. It's funny. A friend of mine invited me because of my music, right? Like me to
You're a
network.
musician. Are you a musician?
Yeah, I'm
Musician?
a singer, songwriter, and composer, and
Oh, okay.
to network. But I ended up just going to all the Clubhouse sessions with health because I'm so much more interested in that at the moment. And I found it really enlightening and also encouraging that you guys let people actually speak, and explain what they're going through
Yeah,
and
I love to let people speak. I want everybody to have a seat.
yeah,
Have a voice.
yeah, I love that. So they can also find you on Clubhouse. I'm going to post the link in the description below so they can find you there.
I love it.
And yeah, thank you so much for your time and all the valuable information. And we will speak again very soon. And you have an amazing, fantastic weekend.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you have a lot of things going on, and there is so much out there that you could be listening to and spending your time on. So I appreciate you being here with us. So if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. And if you like this, share this with the people you love and you care about. In the description below, you will find all the information we talked about and how to get a hold of Michael. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Until then, have an amazing day, week, month, life. I'll talk to you soon.
I had a dream and it was beautiful. It was more than that, it was a wake-up call. And for the first time since I don't know when, I'm honest with myself and who I am. I was living in denial, my whole life was one big lie. But now that I'm awake, I'm aware. This is dangerous, I'm answering to myself. I threw myself away, I look for someone else. This is dangerous, and no, it's not your fault. I've gotta find myself, it's time I want to fall all the way in love with me. I know this all seems way too obvious. The very